Hello everyone, welcome to the class, and today, as you could see in the video, we're going to cover the topic of the economic environment. We're going to develop topics like the market characteristics, what is population, what is income, and which are the economic integrations that exist right now in the world. Come on, let's learn. Also remember that this video is for you to comprehend and for you to analyze the information. All of the content in this video is for you to analyze it, understand it, and apply it to any circumstance or any situation that is real or that you know of. So again, I don't want you to memorize anything. I want you to analyze it and apply it to a real life context. So let's go. Okay, so what do we need in order to launch an effective international marketing project? For sure that you need to know your economic environment. So the assessment of a foreign market environment should start with the evaluation of economic variables relating to the size and nature of the markets. Because of the large number of worthwhile alternatives, initial screening of markets should be done efficiently yet effectively enough, with a wide array of economic criteria to establish a preliminary estimate of market potential. You might find really helpful to look for the major oil exporting countries, or maybe which are the most important emerging economies right now. Also, you can even look for the less developed countries. But something you must remember is that classifications of markets will vary by originator and intended use. Marketers will combine economic variables to feed their planning purposes by using those that relate directly to the product and/or service the company markets, such as the market's ability to buy. Right now, maybe you're thinking, okay, so I know I need to know economic information, but which one should I look for? The main dimensions of a market can be captured by considering variables such as those relating to the population and its various characteristics. You might also find really useful the infrastructure information, geographical features of the environment, and foreign involvement in the economy. If you student listening to me don't know what is population, don't worry because I'm going to tell you right now. In demographics, the world population is the total number of humans currently living on Earth. There you go. So the total world population exceeded 6 billion people in 1999 and is expected to close in on 8 billion by 2025. That's crazy, right? The number of people in a particular market provides one of the most basic indicators of market size and is, in itself, indicative of the potential demand for certain staple items that have universal appeal and are generally affordable or cheap. Population figures themselves must be broken down into meaningful categories in order for the marketer to take better advantage of them. Because market entry decisions may lie in the future, it is worthwhile to analyze population projections in the areas of interest and focus on other possible implications. Depending on the marketer's interest, population figures can be classified to show specific characteristics of their respective markets. Age distribution and life expectancy correlate heavily with the level of development of the market. There are many distinctive features of the population analysis, but these are the most common ones. We have the first one, the age distribution, which basically tells you how old is your population. The second one is the life expectancy, that tells you an average of how long your population is going to live. The third one is the size of a household, that tells you how many members a family has. And the last one is the degree of urbanization, that tells you if your population have the basic services. It is really important that you take a look at the life expectancy and also the age distribution so that you have a better idea if that's the population that you want as your target market, or if your plan has a potential with them. Those in the 25 to 45 age group, whose numbers are increasing, for example, are among the most affluent consumers of all, having formed family units and started to consume household goods in large quantities as they reach their personal peak of their personal earnings potential. An important variable for the international marketer is the size of a household. A household describes all the persons, both related and unrelated, who occupy a housing unit. To have an example of how important this is, we have Mexico. An average household in Mexico varies from 3 until 5 or 6 people within a house. On the other hand, one-person households are most common in Norway and Germany. With economic development usually bringing about more but smaller size households, international marketers of food products, appliances, and household goods have to adjust the patterns of demand. For example, they may offer single-serving portions of frozen foods and smaller appliances. The degree of urbanization often dictates the nature of the marketing tasks the company faces, not only in terms of distribution, but also in terms of market potential and buying habits. Urban areas provide larger groups of consumers who may be more receptive to marketing efforts because of their exposure to other consumers and to communication media. It is important that you remember that when using international data sources, the international marketer must recognize that definitions of a construct, like urbanization, may vary among the many secondary sources. For example, again, the concept of urbanization has different meanings depending on where one operates. In the United States, an urban area is defined as a place of 2,500 or more inhabitants, and in Sweden, it is a built-up area with at least 200 inhabitants with no more than 200 meters between houses. See the difference? Now let's jump to another economic factor that we need to take into consideration, and that is income. And again, if you don't know what is income, don't worry because I'm about to tell you. So income is basically all the money that you receive, especially on a regular basis, for work or through investments. So if you work or you have an investment, like in a bank or something, and you receive money for it, that is income. And it is important because remember, markets require not only people, but also purchasing power, which is a function of income, prices, savings, and credit availability. You can say that in general, income figures are useful in the initial screening of markets. However, in product-specific cases, income may not play a major role and startling scenarios may emerge. As you can see in the picture, world markets can be divided into 4 tiers of consumers based on broad measures of income. Tier number 1 consists of 100 million consumers from around the world, and typically this means consumers in developed markets, but also includes the rich elites in developing markets. So basically the rich kids. Tier number 2 consists of a lower income segment in developed markets, while tier number 3 includes the rising middle class consumers in emerging markets. Tier number 4 is home to the average consumer in developed markets. Okay, so now we got to the consumption patterns, and that means that we are going to analyze how people spend their money. So depending on the sophistication of a country's data collection system, we can get the consumption patterns and analyze that information. So the share of income spent on necessities or basic products will provide an indication of the market's development level, as well as an approximation of how much money the consumer has left for other purchases. That means how much money people spend on basic products and how much money people spend on products that are not a basic need. In case you don't have that information or it is not available, you can always take a look at Angel's Law. So Angel was a groundbreaking person in this topic, and he got laws that provided some generalizations about consumers' spending patterns and are useful generalizations when precise data are not available. So they state that as families' income increases, the percentage spent on food will decrease. The percentage spent on housing and household operations will be roughly constant, and the amount saved or spent on other purchases will increase. Finally, we have the basic physical and organizational structures and facilities, like buildings, roads, power supplies, that are needed for the operation of a society or enterprise. So yes, we're talking about infrastructure. The availability and quality of an infrastructure is critically important in evaluating marketing operations abroad. Each international marketer will rely heavily on services provided by the local market for transportation, communication, and energy, as well as on organizations participating in the facilitating functions of marketing, like marketing communications, distributing, information, and financing. Another aspect that we have to study when we are checking the economic environment is the regional economic integration. I'm pretty sure that you've heard about it, so let's see. Economic integration has been one of the main economic developments affecting world markets since World War II. It's pretty old, right? Countries have wanted to engage in economic cooperation to use their respective resources more effectively and to provide larger markets for member country producers. We have different levels of economic integration, and the first one is the free trade area. The free trade area is the least restrictive and loosest form of economic integration among nations. In a free trade area, all barriers to trade among member countries are removed. Goods and services are freely traded among member countries. No discriminatory taxes, quotas, tariffs, or other barriers are allowed. Sometimes, a free trade area is formed only by certain classes of goods and services. Secondly, we have the customs union. The customs union is one step further along the spectrum of economic integration. As in the free trade area, members of the customs union dismantle barriers to trade in goods and services among members. In addition, however, the customs union establishes a common trade policy with respect to non-members. Typically, this takes the form of a common external tariff, whereby imports from non-members are subject to the same tariff when sold to any member country. In third place, we have the common market. The common market amounts to a customs union covering the exchange of goods and services, the provision of duties and exports and imports between members, and the adoption of a common external tariff in respect to non-members. In addition, factors of production like labor, capital, and technology are mobile among members. Restrictions on immigration and cross-border investment are abolished. The importance of factor mobility for economic growth cannot be overstated. When factors of production are mobile, their capital, labor, and technology may be employed in their most productive uses. And finally, the most difficult one to get is the economic union. The creation of a true economic union requires integration of economic policies in addition to the free movement of goods, services, and factors of production across borders. Under an economic union, members will harmonize monetary policies, taxation, and government spending. In addition, a common currency is to be used by members. The most famous example of this? Yeah, you got it, the European Union. That's how we get to the end of another video tutorial. Thank you so much for being here, and now you know everything about the economic environment. Let's keep on sharing, learning, and reaching. See you soon.